Hi guys, it's me, Miss Bryans. This is just a video to show you how to do some slab construction. Here's our pendants again. A few more examples just to take a look. Some really nice examples. Can't wait to fire them. Alright, so I have my two yardstick guides. You'll need two of them, the same thickness. I have my clay, big chunk of clay, and it's wet and ready to go. It's already been wedged. I have a rolling pin. I have my knife tool, a ruler, and a pencil, just a regular old pencil. Alright, so make sure you got a cloth underneath your clay, otherwise the clay will stick to the table and there's no way you can get it off. So make sure you have that cloth underneath. Put your two guides on one on each side. So your clay is in the middle. Take your ruler and find the 5-inch mark. There's the 5-inch mark. And make sure that your guides are at least 5 inches wide. Alright, so we're going to squish the clay now. We're going to squish it down. The reason why we squish it down is because if I tried to roll it right now, it wouldn't do much. It would probably just stick to the rolling pin. So we got to squish it down just a little bit. Not too far. We don't want to go so far that we make it flatter than the thickness of our guides. So about that far is fine. And it's okay if it cracks on the side. Make sure your guides are on the side of your clay there, one on each side. And now it's time to roll the slab. Take your rolling pin and roll over the clay. Make sure that your rolling pin comes in contact with the guides. If it doesn't come in contact with the guides, it's not going to roll to an even thickness. That's the reason why we're rolling this slab, is to get an even thickness in the clay. You'll see that I'm rolling it not just front and back, but from side to side. And it's pushing the clay out in each direction. And pretty soon it's not going to make any more contact with the clay. It's not going to push the clay out anymore. It's okay if you need to readjust your yardstick guide on the side. Sometimes they move. Alright, so now it's the same thickness as that guide. And I'll show you the thickness. It's gotten a lot larger. Okay, so you'll see on the side, it's pretty much the same thickness everywhere in the clay. Alright, and now we're going to score and cut. So take your ruler and find the 5-inch mark again. So 5 inches, not 5 centimeters, we want 5 inches. And lay it down in a spot on your clay where you can for sure get 5 inches and on all sides. Okay, so right about there would be good for me. Okay, and I'll take my pencil and I'll just draw a line. I'm not cutting with the pencil, I'm just drawing a line in the clay. It doesn't have to be very deep. Measure to 5 inches and then stop. Take the ruler again and measure to 5 inches. When we made our clay pendants, I had you guys trace with a square piece of paper, cardboard, but this time you're going to be measuring, so make sure to measure carefully. So it's a pretty good square I've got drawn out there on the clay. This is called scoring. When I use a pencil to make the marks in the clay, that's scoring. And next we're going to cut with the clay knife. So I'm just cutting the sides off Take that spare clay and use it later. You can recycle that. And you'll see as I'm cutting on the edge, it's an even thickness on that side. You can tell that it's even. I don't see any bubbles, so that means that I wedged it right. It's not going to explode, hopefully. All right, and there is my slab ready to be worked on. See that even thickness? Looks pretty good. Show you on the other side. All right, and now we're going to add what I call slip. Slip is a mixture of clay and water. So you guys have your slip there with the sponge. Okay, it's pretty wet. And we're going to use the slip to smooth down those rough edges. So I'm just dipping my finger in and then smoothing it down. You'll want to smooth down the edges and the corners. You don't need to dump the whole thing of water on there, just a little bit of water. If you use too much water, it'll get really soppy and it'll probably start to change shape. It won't look like a square anymore. You can flip it over and then do the other edges. Make sure you get each edge and each corner. All right, so there are my edges. Pretty smooth. Smooth out that corner a little bit. And smoothing it out will help keep it from cutting anyone or hurting me once it's fired. All right, and then we got to write our name on the back with our day and the period. So you got your pencil, make sure your pencil is pretty sharp, and I'd like you to write your first initial and then your last name. So my first initial is B for Bailey, and then my last name is Bryans, obviously. So if you are Paul Smith, you would write P and then Smith. And then I wrote 1A. It's really important you write your period and your day on the back. And there you go. Some things to remember is that you should always wedge your clay first. You should also squish your clay down before trying to roll it. You should always roll for an even thickness. And you should measure with a ruler carefully. Make sure you measure to the 5-inch mark and write your name on the back so that when we fire it, we can find it easily and you don't have to go through 250 different clay